Attention. We now have control of your streaming device.
What is going on, everybody out there in podcast land?
Howdy.
Hello, my darlings.
Happy Wednesday. Which, I think side note, I think we may switch back to the old Tuesday night, just for all you live watchers and listeners out there. Just a heads up. But yeah, welcome back, everyone. I don't know why I'm taking care of show business on the show, but what is going on? Yeah. We are podcast for growers, by growers. I'm Captain Autoflower.
Wow, you're like formal tonight. Introductions and everything.
I don't know.
Ladies
I feel like
and
we
gentlemen,
have a couple
Captain
new
Autoflower.
We've been getting some new watchers.
We have them. Huh? Hello, everybody. I'm your father.
Well,
God, I hope not.
We like to keep it casual, guys. We like to keep it casual and have fun. talk about growing when we can. But first, what are we smoking on tonight?
I'll go first. I got that prayer glue going.
Oh yeah, is that the GG4? And
Prayer glue.
it's got to have GG4, right?
Yep, it's a GG4 crossed with Prayer Tower Sativa by Mass Medical Strains.
Sounds good.
It's like a, I don't know, almost creamy, like fuel. A little bit of funk. Definitely get that glue note. I enjoy it a lot. It's a wonderful combination of GG4. It mellows it down a little bit, gives it that sativa effect, so you're not kind of, you know,
Yeah, GG4
dumbfounded.
had a couch locky effect for me, for sure.
Yeah, it kind of makes you dumb too. I think the combination of this with the Prayer Tower Sativa definitely it's a home run, man.
Hell yeah, it sounds awesome.
What about you?
I got some Diesel Frost. I mentioned it on I think the last show. I've been digging this one a lot. It's the Slurricane crossed with Sour Diesel
That does sound
combo.
really good.
It is.
I'd grow that.
Yeah,
I
it has,
did that.
it has I guarantee you would. Yeah, it's got really dense, like I'd call them golf ball type nugs. Real stinky. It has a fruitiness to it. A certain subtle fruitiness that like my other sours and skunks like just don't have. You know what I mean? Like I'm not admittedly like I'm not the biggest fan of fruity stuff, but like when combined with gassy and skunky or funky in some way, like man, fruity can really be nice.
Yeah, if it's
Just
done
that
right.
little note, or like maybe a
Easy.
candy. It could be a candy note. I don't know how people distinguish
Here,
that.
little boy, want some candy?
Yeah, right.
Beautiful.
Well, yeah, it's delicious. The breeder of this one was Exclusive Genetics, New York, NY.
Okay.
Lovely.
Yeah, what you got, G3?
I have either some purple Pandronia from Alabrije, or I think this is the last bit of Mango Sunset that Frost Farmer sent me. Thank you again, sir. Very appreciated.
Wait,
So
what did he send you?
yeah, this is that Mango Sunset that I've been
Oh, yeah, and that's from Frost Farmer,
obsessing
huh?
over. Yep.
So you got
So,
something from
big
our
thank you to
listeners
him.
other than dick pics. Fucking awesome.
It was a good day. It was a good day. Yeah, he sent me a whole smorgasbord of lovely things. So I really appreciate
That's
it.
awesome. Yo, I've been taking note of some of his postings, some of his work he's got going on.
He's very talented.
Yeah, looks like he's doing a good job out there making some seeds, some really nice looking crosses. So, hats off to you, sir.
Hi, laddie.
Very talented. So, yeah, I guess we'll see. I had Purple
Cool.
Pantarania before this. I like her. She used to make me super contemplative, but now she makes me kind of chatty. So I like her for shows. She wasn't good for shows before, but now she is.
That's funny.
Just
how-
goes to show you that they can change and cure.
Well, it stands to reason that if the smells can shift over that duration of time and the flavors can change, then like isn't that signaling just a shift in the cannabinoids? And that's
You think
You
so?
would
that's
think
just like
so.
an effect of that. I mean, perhaps, right?
Yep, very, very true. So,
So yeah, cure.
Yeah.
Good
I like
a good couple weeks. Like I feel like they're at their peak, like 6 weeks in the cure.
I would
for me.
agree. I would definitely agree.
A little more than
That
a
I
month.
think is
but-
when it's like the most true to their highest potential. Like that's what you're looking for out of that plant. After that point, I feel like they kind of start to shift a little bit.
yeah, and sometimes for the worse. Like
Right. They
they'll
kind of shift away from what you're expecting, at least. Because it
I think
doesn't.
that's
It starts smelling different than the way it smelled when she grew.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And like you come to like expect a certain profile from it because you've been smoking it that time, and then like one day when that's just not there anymore, you're like,
Oh yeah.
oh
Or it's
man.
like a slightly different, and you're like, "Wow, I haven't noticed that note in there before." Especially if you haven't visited her in a while.
Yeah. Well,
You've changed, babe. You've changed.
it's not you. It's
The way you make it sound is like she's a lady of the night. You haven't seen her in a while.
My beautiful ladies.
it's
Pop on in.
when you come creeping back to her, after all those nights out with those other girls. You're like, oh my god, you smell like someone else has been here. I don't know.
That 2 a.m. where you at?
Yeah, right. Well, it's a funny thing. Yeah, I don't know. That's why they're best fresh. You kind of try to go through them quickly, or as we've advised, put them in long-term storage. Whether that's with like a vacuum seal or just a Grove bag.
Grove bags.
Yeah.
Yep. You can do long-term storage in like your jars. They have those vacuum sealer attachments for mason jars. So you
Oh,
could
yeah.
theoretically vacuum seal all your buds in their jars.
This is true.
Like you're making like canned peaches or something like that. Gotta boil it
I'm not
before you
talking
put
like-
it on the shelf.
You don't need to like water bath your flour.
There are some people that do
They
that.
have like little attachments. Hook onto your
What?
food saver.
Have you heard of that? Water curing?
No.
No? Let's
Yeah.
talk about that. Tell me about water curing, please.
So you literally take your buds and you soak them in water. And there are people that do this for a couple of reasons. One, it strips all the terps and the smell away from the herb, and that's desirable to some people because they want to be stealth. And it does make it rather smooth. I've tried some water cured herb before. It's not my thing. I wouldn't really
I mean,
recommend it.
like if you're like transporting it into like Macon, Georgia or something, like somewhere where it's basically like still you're a felon.
Yeah,
Get
I
called
guess.
any amount. It's just I don't see why you would want to do that, but
Neither do I, man. But there are some people that do it. It's a thing. You can look it up. It's called water curing your cannabis.
You just
and you
dump
you like
your flour in water.
keep
Yeah.
it in water or
Do you
just
have to
dunk
agitate
it?
No,
it?
I couldn't give you the whole specifics because I've never done it and never really looked into it enough. I never cared enough to look into it.
No,
But basically,
Like-
you
Look over
just
research
soak your
this.
buds in flour. I mean, you soak your flour in water for X amount of time, and you take it out and let it dry. And by then, it's stripped it of
What the
all
fuck?
its smell.
Interesting.
I don't want to do that.
I
but
mean-
No, but some people do.
Trichomes are glands that contain oil. They survive water just fine. I've definitely washed buds after having pests before.
yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say I've heard of bud washing.
But not water curing.
So like, I mean, maybe we're talking about the same thing. Are we talking about the same thing?
No.
Just a different
No,
term?
those
No.
are
It's a
definitely
completely different
two
practice.
things. Like the curing process, but
So you
in
keep it
water.
underwater?
Yeah, for like X amount of days.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, I got an open mind, man, but no, I mean, if the intent is to take the terps away, I don't think I'm going to try it.
No, I wouldn't recommend anybody try it unless
No,
it's something you know like you need to smoke in stealth. I don't know.
You know what it reminds me of
There are
is like
better ways.
Yeah,
you said, like just terpless weed. Like, you know what? That would just basically be beasters. Remember those?
even those had some flavor, but I mean, yeah,
They looked good, man. They were these
Yeah.
big, like plump looking buds with like
you
nice
know, most of
orange
that shit
hairs,
was
but
ready
they-
in less than 50 days.
No shit.
Yeah, that's why it sold. They could have grown it longer, but it looked good enough to go to market in like 45, 50 days.
Wasn't the strain like M39?
Yeah, something like
I
that. It
think
was
it
like
was
M
called
something.
M39.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, dude, because I remember it being like associated with biker gangs back in
Hmm.
like in like in Canada back in those days when it was probably still illegal. And yeah, I mean being ready in under 50 days and not having any smell to it, like that's desirable traits if you're if you're doing
Yeah.
it
I
all
mean, it was better
under the radar.
than a lot of the shit that was going around. So I mean, if you got a hold of it every now and then, it wasn't the worst thing in the world.
I
But
mean, I always liked it because it was sometimes it was either that or the brickweed.
yeah, yeah.
Kids these days don't even remember.
And I remember
No
I used to like
idea.
conserve it, right? Like I used to. The nugs were so rock hard that you could take like a razor blade and like slice like shivers away and like packable ties to do it.
Oh, you like absolutely needed a grinder with that stuff. You could not like
Unless you
No, it
left
trying to
wouldn't
left
break
it
it
out.
light.
up with your fingers or something. Yeah,
Yeah, it wouldn't light.
yeah, no, that wouldn't light at all. Too dense. Ah, those were the days though.
Were they?
Oh
Were they
yeah,
though?
M39 run coming next. You just wait.
Yeah.
Who's got those seeds?
Hopefully nobody. Something we want to fucking go away from the genetic gene pool.
Yeah, I mean, you got the time and the space.
Grow real
Definitely
weed.
go with something better.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, up in the garden, I had I've been having some issues, man. Some serious ass garden issues in my one tent, the big
Yeah.
tent, the 5x5.
Tell us more.
Who's in there, first of all?
So, well, who do I intend to be in there, or who is in there currently? That's two
Who's having the
different stories.
problems in the tent?
So, excuse me, Let me get my breath back.
I mean, I do assume that the problem is with the plants in the tent and not the tent itself.
Yes. So,
All right.
and we are very early on in the process. We are not even germinated. That's how far along we are in the process. I'm getting stymied by the germination. I'm having issues, man, and I have thoughts about what's happening.
Are you direct sewing?
Yes. You know, I like went away from that because I was having problems. Okay.
What
I'm
were your problems before? You used to
re-experiencing
use
those
the
problems
paper
now.
towel method, right?
That
That was
yeah,
your
like that's
previous
what I
SOP, and that's you
went
moved away
to
from because
after the.
what issues did you have?
So yeah, so just to give you a chronology of my seed
Thank
sowing
you.
practices.
Yes.
Like yes, it was direct sow. Then it was paper towel with like a DVD case with a weed related movie. Very important. And then I went away from that to the direct sow method just for ease and simplicity's sake. And I thought I could, not have the problems that I had in the past, but I'm re experiencing those same problems. And I think it all has to do with the living soil and like the reused, perhaps, living soil in that sense. Like, you know what I mean?
Like it's too hot, or there are organisms in there that are attacking this. I don't know
Yeah,
what you're
that's
like.
I think it's too there's too much life in the soil and like the when the seedling is trying to sprout because like I had this one okay the Sage Scout it I thought it was my last bean but thank God it was not okay I had one more so fingers crossed but it came up halfway had like a little helmet head on so I do as I tend to do. I spray it a few times, wait a few hours. But man, this helmet head was like hardly a hardly cracked seed. Sometimes there's real pesky ones. So like it needed help. I tried to get some tweezers out, perform a cesarean section, and it didn't go that well. Like I had like it was early in the morning, you know, like I must have like I had like a nervous twitch and must have like bent her a little too hard. I knew it when it
Oh,
happened. I could like, you know, it's like, ow, ooh, you know what? I'm just gonna leave it. Maybe I'll come back in an hour or two and she'll bounce back.
I've had
dearly
ones that I've straight up
departed.
beheaded trying to take the seed off,
Oh
and
yeah,
they've
man.
made it.
You have to be super gentle.
Yeah.
That's why I always try to spray them first with like a lukewarm water and just let them try to work it off for a few hours.
Mm.
And if
You
I
know
don't,
what?
I do the same.
I've attributed the helmet head thing to not planning deep enough, and that's what I think I have it
Hmm.
narrowed down to.
I
And
I have two.
humidity, I think. If your humidity isn't high enough and you're not deep enough, they're going to come up with a helmet on.
Yeah, but I've
Or
straight up
you
beheaded
have
those
a higher
bitches.
chance.
And they've lived, so it's amazing what the little seedling can do even after you behead the thing. Um,
Well, I don't think mine had the chance.
nah,
But no, so like you are right, and I've I use like a humidity dome to keep
Hmm.
lots of humidity in my seedling environment. And I thought I had all the variables right, you know, like I not too deep, not too shallow, seed just placed in the soil, like horizontal, ever like so, you know, like you don't put any specific side down, like not like the tapered edge or the pointy edge. Just put it horizontal so it just like can flip up and the seed like the action of rubbing against the soil as it like flips up is what pulls the helmet head off, right? Making
Yep.
fun of my hand gestures. But the yeah, I don't know, maybe I was too shallow, but in any case, I came back up like 2 hours later. And this seedling was being attacked by like hundreds perhaps of these little tiny soil mites. These little like they're like little silver a beneficial soil mite in most cases for established plants, right?
mm,
But not for a weakened seedling, like a vulnerable lamb straying away from the flock. You know, like you're fucking you're dead meat at that point. You know,
dead meat sucker.
if there's any life around, like you're dead meat, and that's like in a this soil that is alive, and there's all sorts of shit in there. You know what I mean? Sometimes you find like roly polies and yeah. What are
Yeah,
they?
I'm sure
Those
the
rove
mold and the
beetles and
I'm sure mold and fungus counts are super high.
yeah,
All of that. It's not
yeah.
necessarily as hospitable as we think it is, but then again, is it like very different than the soil that we get in bags? What's the difference? That's just dirt too.
I think honestly, I think that like bagged soil is sterilized, and then
I don't
like
know. You grow with Coast of Maine, Fungus Nat City.
I think that in a lot of cases that has to do with the way it's stored before it gets to your grow. Before you like,
Maybe,
if
maybe
it's
not.
sitting out like in a pile at the garden center, like I mean, gnats can penetrate those little holes in the bag and like lay eggs in there. I mean, so and I'm not sure, but like I think it's just a lot cleaner to buy a bag of soil.
Theoretically, yes, but I wonder
I
why.
don't know.
Like, is that logical?
I
We assume that.
over
I
the
just
course of like a couple runs, okay? Like I feel like and I'm not like I love the living soil thing. Don't get me wrong. And like the
mm-hmm.
soil mites are beneficial when your plants are established. Those are like little critters that like crawl around the top layer eating plant like eating organic matter and shitting out plant food basically.
Hmm.
Right? They're
Mm-hmm.
really cool. So like you want them, but yeah, like they'll attack, man. If given the chance, a little vulnerable seedling, savages.
Yeah, they
So
see
how
it
do
as a
you
food
get rid
source.
of them? How do you get rid
Well,
of your overgrowth then without killing off the benefits of having living soil? Do you dry it out completely? Do you
no,
heat it? Do
I don't
you
think I'm
like
going to do anything
spray it
like that
down?
because the thing is, like, when the seeds sprout, they sprout just fine. And, like, you know, maybe my issue is with the helmet head, not the living soil, because, again, like, I fucking tweaked the thing with tweezers. It's like, what are you going to do? Thing it didn't have a chance at all. Like a surgeon with a twitch, you know?
Maybe just more inert medium at the top of your pot.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that
Hmm.
I was thinking that. So, like, my solution to it was to use a couple like cocoa soil pucks. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Those little like root riot cubes. Plant a couple more seeds in a sterile medium that you can then, like, once the seedling is established and above that dangerous layer of living soil, you can put it in there. So just wanted, give people a little bit of a heads up. Like, sometimes, like, living soil can get a little bit too alive for, like, especially for seedlings, for real. Like, it's a thing.
It's
No,
alive.
I can jive with that, and I think also too, it's just probably a little too hot for a seedling,
Yeah,
in
maybe
some
that.
cases. So I think it's a factor of a bunch of different things, really. Um, they're
It is,
not maybe not planting quite deep enough, maybe just too much activity, a little too hot.
Yeah,
Uh,
shout out to Kevy Boy 420. He says, I didn't put my helmet head deep enough. Or all this deep talking with the helmet head, he says. Yes. Yes, it's all sexual innuendos. Don't you know that growing is just one big sexual innuendo? It's funny how that all works. It really is. But, like, I think I need to put a little, like you said, Monster, a little bit more inert stuff at the top, and
this was a good suggestion
for
here
real, put
from
my
Sean
seeds
here
a little deeper.
at the bottom. Says that Rudy bakes a couple of cups in the oven to sterilize it and puts the seed in that.
Ah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because that's literally what they would do at a soil plant to, like, sterilize the soil, is just bake it, kill off whatever's in it. It's not a bad idea. Put it out, like, spread it out on a baking sheet. Just don't think it's a tray of brownies when you pull it out. And,
Me personally, I think it has to do more with the how hot the soil is than the activity in said soil. Because I think if it was a little less hot and it was able to establish itself a little bit more, it should be able to handle all those little microorganisms and fungus and mold and all that jazz. It's just, I mean, take it for what it's worth, right? I don't really have a whole lot of experience growing in that type of environment, but just kind of what comes to mind.
no, they're all great suggestions. Suggestions, like, and you know, again, living soil is great. We love the life in there, but, like, for maybe a weakened seedling or one that is just trying to push its way up out of the soil, like, you really do have to be careful with microorganisms around your seedling. Just straight up.
Yep.
The thing though is this is just a recent problem for you though, isn't it? Have you really changed anything?
Well, mm, no, it was just like I had went away from doing the direct sow method, and maybe the fact that they were, like, already sprouted tap roots and they were, like, 3/4 of the way sprouted when I would plant them in that soil had something to do with their success rate after that. Like, again, I don't know, but, like, getting, well, I got 2 out of 4, which is not great. I thought I had just got one, but another one just popped its way up. It's funny. They're both the Alabrijes. Maybe it's something to do with, like, breeding in living soil. Don't know.
Mm.
It can pass along, like, traits that offspring can germinate better in those conditions. Who knows? It's interesting. But yeah, the other tent, I got some 26-day-old autos in auto pots. We love our auto pots.
Oh, yes, we do.
They are just about like, I consider the stretch for autos. Well, let me ask you guys. In your experience, when would you say the stretch is?
When does it start?
Yeah. Yeah, like when, like what weeks?
Usually around week 3.
I'd say a little, well, let me think about that. A little bit later than that.
As soon as
I'd
I
say
start to
around
see,
day 30, really, into day like 45 is where I'm really seeing them reach.
really, as soon
I
as I see
agree with
pom poms,
G3. Yeah, I agree with G3. So like for me, Monster, you're not wrong. Like when you do start to see that like more rapid growth above the soil is week 3, day 21.
that's when they start to take off, and you can like
They
literally
do.
see an inch or more growth every fucking day.
No, well, so for me, man, maybe it's the size pot, maybe it's could be a number of variables, but like for me, I see that explosive like an inch or two of growth per day from day 28 around 30 or 28 to 42. So we're talking weeks 4 through 6. There's like that 2-week stretch where they just like go insane, right? And they're growing shoots, they're growing leaves, they're growing ladders. And wasn't that a game? Shoots and ladders?
Shoots and ladders, yep.
Like the most
Yeah.
basic board game of all time.
I think they're more basic board games like checkers.
It's true. Okay, touche.
But yeah, shoots and ladders, that was my jam back in the day.
Yeah, it was decent. Decent. Yo, you ever play Candyland?
Hell yeah.
All right. Cool.
I'm man enough to admit I played Gatorland. Yep.
Were you always peppermint the peppermint
Couldn't
character?
tell you who I was. I don't
You
really
don't play
remember.
the characters, you play the children walking through Candyland. And you visit with the different characters. Come on, boys.
I guess I don't remember it that
We deeply
well.
offended
All
G3.
right.
I literally played it
She's
yesterday.
got kids. She's got kids. She's like, hell
Deeply
yeah, I played
her.
Candyland.
Yeah.
All right. How about Hungry Hungry Hippos?
Yep.
All right. 'Cause
Yep.
that wasn't even a board game. That was just mayhem.
Yeah,
Like
it's how
smashing
quickly
the
you could
fucking
smash the thing.
like, yeah.
It's like
Like
Rock'em
Rock'em
Sock'em
Sock'em.
Rope.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
All right, one more. How about Crossfire?
Never played.
Oh, yeah, where you have to
remember the
shoot
commercial?
with the.
I remember the
the
commercial.
little
Crossfire, Crossfire. I don't know. I can hear it like it was yesterday. Yeah, my sister and
you get a
me,
future in this.
she gets so pissed off. I'd beat her ass every time.
Yeah.
Was that like a much desired Christmas present?
Oh man, Crossfire.
I
was
could
so
see you
fun.
begging your parents for that.
You would like. It was like you had this little gun and shoot these marbles, these little
Yeah,
silver
the,
marbles,
like,
that,
little
like,
silver-
the spinny things. Yeah, it was awesome.
Like little ball bearings, basically.
Amazing. So yeah, let's say the stretch is weeks 4 through 6, 28 through 42. I'm right there, right? So what is your strategy to keep these plants well fed during the phase of their life where they're eating the most, they're growing the most, so they're eating the most, right? Just like a teenager, right? I'm going to eat you out of house and home, like my mom would say to me.
Yeah, you don't want to jump the gun. Well, I can talk for myself with, like, I grow in organic soil. So, like, that point is when I'm listening to my plants, really watching them. If they start showing that they're hungry, that's when I start top dressing. But not before then, because they won't be hungry before then. It'll just be food that they don't need.
Do you think?
So,
Or is it like, I don't know.
I mean, my soil is loaded
Yeah.
for them. And it started with the least amount of nutrients at the top and the most amount of nutrients at the bottom.
Okay.
So by the time they
they're
get down there,
growing into that.
if that's when I know, like, okay, let's go.
So you're right in the layering technique, like we preach, in theory, yeah, around day 20, when those roots reach that bottom layer, they have access to all that new hot soil, and they can eat all that calcium, right? Like all those nutrients, everything it wants, it has access to.
Yep. So right, like basically at the beginning, right pre-stretch, I start looking at them more, paying attention. If they're stretching, I know they're gonna get hungry. They start showing me some like yellowing in their bottom leaves. Okay, time to top dress.
So for like us organic people, we can't wait. We can't wait to see deficiencies. By the time you see deficiencies, it's too late.
I wouldn't say deficiencies necessarily. Like, yes, if you're seeing deficiencies, then you gotta move. You gotta do something now. But like, if you start seeing those leaves at the bottom starting to go, they start to age a little bit. Some of your
Yeah.
first leaves are like aging out. At that point, like, okay, those nutrients are gone from them there. At
You
that
know,
point, it's like you should be doing something about this.
especially when they're well in the shade too, like in the big plant
Yes,
above it is
exactly.
blocking all the light, and like you do tend to get a little bit of die off. I mean, at least I don't know. I don't know if this is a thing that happens in a synthetic situation where you keep like pumping nutrients into those bottom leaves, But
No,
I think leaves have a life cycle.
eventually
Does it,
they die
Monster?
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually they die off. Some of them
Yeah.
die off.
Like
Absolutely.
Especially as the
couple
plant gets
first
bigger
ones.
and they stop blocking out more light.
Mhm.
It's all shit you're going to
I
want to
think
remove
it's
anyway.
more just that like they're not in direct light. The plant knows like not using this one anymore. But yeah, so for me, like I don't wait till I think the plant is hungry. At least like for my organic feeding regimen to start. You know what I mean? Like I start well before that. Like as soon as I turn on the auto pots, which for me is about day like 24. Okay, like when the plant's a little bit wider than the pot. As G3 said, so wise on a previous show, as above, so below, right? So
Right.
picture like the size of the plant above is just kind of like the size of the root structure underneath. So that's just when it's like filled out the pot,
So you're like a week pre-stretch at this point.
Yeah, maybe.
Expecting.
Yeah, I turn on the auto pots like a week ahead of what I consider to be the stretch, definitely. And in that week, from like 21 to 28, those days, that's when I do a lot of foliar feeding. I do a lot of top dressing with bloom nutrients, specifically like gypsum. Yeah, that kind of stuff, and definitely get some like some of those kelp type products too, because the plant needs well, you got to provide nitrogen. Don't forget about that, because that's going to keep it green, keep it growing.
Not too much though.
Kelp's not nitrogen, is it? Kelp's just like a plant, like stimulant,
No, there's some NPK in
a
there.
little bit of NPK.
Yeah, and it kind of depends on which kelp you get, but I don't know. I mean, according to Brandon Rust, you should never use kelp. It's bad.
Why is kelp bad?
I don't know.
No,
He
I
says
think
it
it's
contains like heavy
and
metals.
stuff, man. It's stuff
Yeah.
that like commercial cultivators have to worry.
We don't
about.
even talk about like if
In
you
the
want to
state
go
of
into heavy
California.
metals.
Yeah, it's known.
Look at like all
Exactly.
your like blood meals and things like that. They're loaded with heavy metals. Comparative to kelp, I think it's minuscule.
It's blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so like yeah, I mean, I think it's important to start getting that stuff in your medium, to start the process of being converted, like by being eaten by those little soil mites and being shit out as plant food, because that process does still have to take place in most cases, right? There has to be some conversion from what it comes out as, like some of the powder that it is, to like usually plants just don't eat the powder. It's like the nature has to take place first.
Yeah, it has to get converted into a salt for the plant to utilize it.
It's, I mean, it's not like, I mean, technically it is the same molecule as a salt, right?
It's just a matter of how quickly it's bioavailable. Certain inputs break down quicker, become more readily bioavailable to the plant.
They do. Now, so one of the essential nutrients for cannabis that I feel gets overlooked in a lot of cases because like it's left out. Let's face it. There's you think of N, you think of P, you think of K. What about the CA?
Fuck that state.
Well, I mean,
No, I'm
element,
just
the
kidding.
element of the
Calcium,
periodic
yeah.
table. Yeah, man. Your
100%.
I
CA.
love the calcium.
The calcium, is for me what like drives a lot of the processes too. Like that's the one that like can give you the most reward while at the same time like the hardest one to get in the correct balance.
It's real
feel
easy
like
to
it's-
figure out when you have that deficiency, though. I would give that to it. Like,
Yeah.
if she's lacking in
easy as hell.
calcium,
Yeah.
she screams it at you.
So what is it? What's the telltale sign?
Those lovely rust-colored spots.
That and little interveinal chlorosis. You can see like the leaves aren't quite green.
Oh, man, those rust-colored spots that they start from the top, right? Because they work their way down.
I feel like it's more prevalent in autos. I just have to be honest with you.
I've had
Yeah.
the ugliest plants that look just got like rust-colored spots everywhere, and you just don't want to take pictures of them anymore. And you're like, just put you in the corner and kind of forget that this happened.
It's real easy to identify, though.
It sure is. But like by the time that happens, it's too late.
Yeah,
It's
but if,
too
if,
late.
if the
It's easy to
interveinal
fix.
chlorosis is a sign that you'll see first before the brown spots.
I thought
Like-
the interveinal chlorosis was more a sign of magnesium.
No, it's
Me
just it's
too.
calcium and magnesium. They go hand in hand, really.
Yeah, because
They do.
because you can't up one without upping the other because they are antagonistic.
So
Yay.
what does that mean, G3? Like what is antagonist? It's just the elements like they work against one another.
They
in
kind
the
of
plant?
work against each other. Yes.
So if
if
you,
you
like-
increase your calcium, it'll decrease your magnesium. So if you increase your calcium, you have to also increase your magnesium.
And that's
Or as Monsta says, just increase everything.
Yeah, like
Right.
look, I mean, if you have
He's
they
not
make
wrong.
they make good organic all-in-one base nutrients. Just use that, because I promise you, if you have a deficiency in calcium or something else is coming up along the way. It's just a sign you're not feeding that plant enough, or there's not enough active nutrition in the soil or whatever. So just
could be.
up a little bit of everything. I promise you'll get better results that way, because instead of you trying to a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, especially in organics,
Oh yeah.
I feel like you could go down a fucking rabbit hole and totally get lost.
You're
Just
100%
feed
right.
that bitch.
And stop,
Just
like-
feed her.
Locking up certain things while unlocking other
Yeah.
things. If you just give it a good heavy base nut of something, a nice
So-
good dose.
And that's the
And
reason
pH balanced water.
you just brought up every point you guys in the last like 2 sentences you each just said that I like wanted to get into for the rest of the show. For like no lie.
It's foreshadowing.
We've been doing this enough that like we're just on the same wavelength, I'm telling you. So Monsta, remind me. What did you say about the nutrients, about the plants?
Use base nuts if you see deficiency. in something.
Yes.
Yep.
Use base nuts because they are blended to be Like they're formulated to be in the right ratio.
And
Okay?
that's what it's all about. It's the ratios, really.
Yes.
It's the most important thing, and that's why when you see people, oh, my buddy at at the hydro shop said to get this, or my buddy said to get that. I see people with like repetitive products, or like one that just has this in it, and one that just has that, and then you're not getting them at the right ratios. You got all this other shit in your soil, and before you know it, your fucking plants are 2 feet tall, and you've stunted your fucking auto flowers yet again.
Shame
So,
on you.
so I like to take a much simpler approach, and I'm not a scientist, right? I'm a salt guy, but it doesn't mean I'm a scientist. If I see a deficiency in my plants, I'm not going to sit there and just go grab a bottle of CalMag or go grab a bottle of this or that. I'm just going to up the whole fucking shebang, slowly, a little bit more this day, a little bit more that day, and then you should see the problem start to correct itself. And you can do the same thing with organics. You just have to use an organic based newt,
Yes.
maybe something like um, I don't know, nectar for the gods or something. I don't know.
Did they? So Nectar of the Gods is actually a pretty. I think they do have like a grow and a bloom type stuff, right? But they also have like 32 other bottles
They
that you
do.
can get into and like really get down a rabbit hole with that stuff. And it's like, if you know what you're doing, like by all means, play around and like fuck around and find out, okay? But like us organic guys can sometimes get into trouble because we think like, oh, we could. It's like Swedish chef mentality: a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and we'll just like throw it all in, and it's all good because it's
I measure that shit with my heart. All right.
can do no wrong. But
That's
like,
how I fuck around with microbes, but like not my newts.
I think sometimes people just like they hear about a certain thing, they're like, oh, well, I'll just add like more, bat guano, or just add like one specific top dressing, like gypsum, bat guano, like a P or a K, or like just calcium. But like, yeah, I do feel like a nice balanced feeding like goes a long way, and I love those Cold War organics products. You got your bud bread, your coming of age. They're formulated, powdered organic nutrients, and like
And then Angel's
they
Touch
work.
for your kelp.
Yeah, if you want your seaweed extracts and your plant growth hormones, and you want to get your turbocharged that shit, like that's where that comes in. Absolutely, like and those are what I always go to. You know what I mean? I do still think that a little bit of a calcium specific foliar feeding and magnesium, you can throw that in there too because they go hand in hand. Foliar feed those two when you're right before flower, front load them. That's what I like to think of it. You're front loading your calcium because after you get the flowering cycle initiated, like you're going to be feeding P's or K's actively. And those are antagonistic with calcium. So like if you feed too much of it, it's not going to uptake the other. So like get the calcium into the plant. You're not going to see, at least for organics, okay? You're not going to see a calcium toxicity. That's like not a thing. I don't think that can really happen.
No, but what it can do is lock out phosphorus.
Yeah,
If you add,
exactly.
if you add too much calcium, you'll fuck up your that, and that just goes back to the whole thing of
It's
don't
antagonistic.
don't fuck around. Just add more base newts, and
Correct.
your good base newt should have enough calcium in it. Generally speaking,
Should.
most of them do.
Should. Now, you can foliar feed a lot of things. For calcium, I do use a Nectar of the Gods product. It's a Demeter's Destiny.
Yep.
Just calcium. I think they make it from like eggshells and like oyster shells. And it's like you can do this kind of stuff at home, like in a Jadam type process, and let them sit in like a jar full of apple cider vinegar for a couple
Yeah,
months
like
and
you
break them
you
down.
you bake them and then soak them in
Yeah,
vinegar. I guess. Yeah, I've heard of people doing that shit.
that's it's kind of the same thing. Like you're solubilizing the calcium. They've done it for you. You can buy it. It's ready to go. It's like plant. It's ready to be uptaken by the plant. It's already in that specific form where it's been like converted. So like you can get it in there more actively, and you don't have to wait for that like the nature to take place in order for the plant to eat the calcium. So I do like that kind of stuff. But now G3, you mentioned another key thing that I wanted to get into, which is pH.
The key to everything. Yes,
I'm not
pH.
going to disagree with you. Even in living soil, I I hear it all the time from people. Like, oh, I get It's buffered. It's buffered. It's buffered.
Yes, it's buffered. It's not. It doesn't work miracles.
Exactly. You,
You know what? I want people to think of an analogy. Have you ever watched The Price is Right? Have you seen the game Plinko, where they take
yeah,
that little
love
thing
that game.
and it just slowly like matriculates its way down to the bottom, right? I want you to think of your water like that, okay? And even if you're in a living soil, if you throw it just some whack random pH because it's gonna buffer, okay? It's gonna take a lot longer for the plant to be able to utilize that water because it has to said buffer it. Why not just cut to the chase and give it what it wants, that 6.5, 6.7 pH water, right? Instead of like your 7.5, 8.2 tap shit, you
It's
know?
not going to hurt
No.
anything. Like it, and to rely on the buffering quality of your microbes or your humus or any kind of like what are you like really, if you're so convinced that your plant can buffer any kind of water situation, then feed it pH 12. I dare you. I dare you to feed it pH 3 water for a week. I fucking dare you. How much buffering can you? I mean, really, it's if you wouldn't do 3, would you do 5 for a
Buffer
week?
this bitch.
Right? That's show title.
Honestly, if you aren't pHing your water kind of regularly, you're just not being as good a grower as you could be.
Say that one more time.
If you're not pHing your water, you're just not being as good a grower as you could be.
Bingo. For the people in the back, one more fucking time. No, we don't need to. Listen, it's, guys, and I am as lazy as it gets, okay? I don't pH my water every single time it comes out of the tap because I know it's consistently at a certain point. I've tested my water throughout the course of like the growing season over the years. You know what I mean? I can depend on it. Maybe I should just test it every month just for shits and giggles. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Keep the tip of my pH
absolutely.
pen wet. Just keep it functioning.
As long as you have a good
Just the
idea
tip.
of what you're working
Just the tip.
with, if God forbid something happens and goes wonky with your water and you pH it and you find out something's really screwy with it, that stops you from giving it to your plant and maybe stops you from drinking it. Not that that happens regularly, but I'm sure that it does. It's just it takes a couple of seconds for the number to come up and to make it easy for your plant. An extra step to show you care.
There's
I
also
love it.
something to
I
be
love it.
said too about consistency and the plant's ability to adapt. Like I'm a firm believer.
within a certain range though. Like
No, I know, but I
plant
mean,
can't adapt to
I'm a
a
pretty firm believer. If you threw it, like if you were in a living soil environment, and you threw your fucking plant 8.5 pH water every day, it would eventually adapt and it would probably be all right. Because I've seen people do it.
It would, but you'd
It's
stunt the shit
not
out of your
it's
autoflower.
not ideal, not ideal. But I think
if
more organic growers than not have the mindset of not worrying about pH, and I'd like to change that.
I think it's
100%,
just
man.
so easy to do. It's so easy.
It's not hard. It's really, and listen, like if you're adding anything then to your water, you're changing the pH of it by that very nature. If you're adding any kind of, I mean, usually not like a microbe product. That's pretty pH stable.
Depending, who knows?
Depends. Like recharge definitely drops the pH. You know, I
Um,
tested that a few times.
Photo Plus will bring it up a little bit,
Yeah. So,
not much. But,
Monsta, like when you mix a batch of like salt nutrients
mhm.
into your water, like each salt that you add, does that tend to raise the pH or
No,
lower?
lower.
So each salt lowers the
Correct.
pH of the water as you add it, and then
Yep.
like usually at the end of your mixing, you add pH up to get it within range.
Depending on how heavy I'm feeding, usually in grow scenario before bloom, it's pretty right on. I don't really have to add any down or up.
Okay.
But in bloom, in most cases, and it's most cases because it's not all, really just depends on the incoming water, I'm having to add up.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Do you guys vary your pH within the spectrum that they enjoy? Like I run anywhere from 6.4 to 6.8.
It's
Like I
usually going to
know,
drift up. At least in my case, it mostly just drifts up. So I start at 5.8, and usually by the time the res is done, it'll float to 6. Sometimes I've seen it 6.1.
hmm
For me, a 6.8 is perfect. Even a 7, I wouldn't like. I wouldn't put any kind of pH down if it were 7. Anything above 7, I don't like to mess with.
So say you are having an issue with calcium, right? Calcium is best absorbed around, I think it's 6.6 to 6.8, at least in soil. I'm not talking about cocoa. I don't know about cocoa. It's lower for cocoa. That's what I know.
Always
So
lower.
would you, in that case, try to shift the pH of your res up to that level? If it, like, say you're normally running at 6.4, would you try and pull it up in order to help that calcium absorption and uptake?
Yeah, I suppose I would. It's not going to hurt, is it? But like again, I
No.
think you're going to be better served like with a nice foliar spray in that situation. Maybe even like a soil drench. Take the autopot res out of it.
Yeah,
Direct
that's what I generally
direct
do.
feed, that kind of stuff. Like when we're correcting mistakes, we don't go through the reservoir in most cases.
Touching on calcium, though, that's something that's real important, I think, before we overlook it. It's important to get as much calcium into the plant as possible, especially before you flip the flower.
Yeah, dude, and that's my like calcium front loading thing. I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
you can't like get enough calcium in it for real. You can't, and that's why. I mean, I'll put gypsum is that's not calcium. Never mind, not calcium. So for me, it's like I said, that Demeter's Destiny stuff is key. Like that's usually what I'm playing around with because it's in a plant available form already. But if you guys really want to get nuts, like you can make your own calcium supplements, organic stuff. But like I think again, before we go and just start feeding one nutrient to the plant, we want to stop, take a step back, do we have a more balanced nutrient that we could use with calcium in it? That's always my first step. But then, yeah,
Absolutely.
if you want to, like, for me, that stuff's not immediately available, so I then top it off with some
Yeah.
plant, stuff that is.
And if I'm in veg, I love a good foliar feed with a good, a good product. My favorite straight up foliar feed product is probably Magic Green from House and Garden Nutrients. You spray that shit on your plants, if you had any deficiency at all, it's going to take care of it pretty quickly.
That's
What
impressive.
that's got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's got some beneficial bacteria as well that are able to adhere to the plant. Um, yeah, and then a little bit of kelp, a little bit of molasses, I
You've
think, in
mentioned
there.
that stuff before.
It's
Have to give it a
expensive. It's
whirl.
kind of cost prohibitive for some people, but I mean, you get a bottle like this. It's a small bottle. It's like $30, but like you only use like a couple of drops in a
'Cause,
quart size bottle. It's very potent shit.
ever since I got my my mini fogger,
Hmm.
the Petra Tools mini fogger, like,
Gosh, I love that thing.
foliar spraying is like one of my favorite activities now. I can't foliar spray enough. So, like, if I got some cool new foliar spray I can mess around with, like,
Hmm.
sign me up. I
And a
love
lot of
getting them
times too,
girls wet.
when I'm lazy and I don't want to mix up foliar spray, I'll just take watered down nutrients right from the bucket, right from the reservoir.
Yeah.
You only need a real little bit, because when you're foliar feeding, you can burn the
Oh
shit out of
yeah,
them
yeah,
real
yeah.
quick. So
Dilute
like,
it.
I might just take like, you know, like 1/10 nutrients and the rest water, and just foliar feed them.
Now, of course, you're going to want to pH the water that you foliar feed with.
That's a negative, Ghost Rider. I never pH. I've had bad luck trying to pH foliar feeds. I've ended up doing more harm than good.
Yeah.
So So I
Just
don't
let it
even.
ride,
I just
whatever it
let
is.
whatever it is. It
Interesting.
is. Yep. And
Hmm.
you would think I would, but no. When I tried that mindset, like, I don't know whether it's the pH down or up, whatever. The plants just, they never seemed to be happy whenever I did that. So I just went away
I
from it.
wonder if it's the type of up that you were using. If it was some type of
In most cases, it's down because it's really not a lot of strength of newts to bring the pH down enough.
gotcha,
So
and
yeah,
that's what an acid, right?
yep, I usually just go whatever it is, it is. I don't even test it. Just spray it.
Well, interesting interesting little nugget there. But yeah, I mean, guys, pH is, don't overlook this aspect of organic growing. Like, soil pH too counts for a lot. Like, it can be pretty relatively consistent throughout the course of the grow. Like, if you add that, like, dolomite lime, lowers the pH, keeps it in that like 6.5 range. Even as you can tend to raise it with, like, adding more and more salts to it, but like or any type of nutrient. So
Kelp is another thing that will typically bring pH up as well. It's not stable though, so don't try to use it as a pH up. I've learned from experience. I've tried. It will bring your pH up of whatever's in your reservoir, but it doesn't last. It's not very stable.
yeah. Now, what I mean, so I use when I'm adjusting pH, like, typically if I do mix up, now I will say for my Cold War Organics nutrients, those don't really fuck with the pH at all. So, like, it'll stay in that 6-8 range. It's money. It's good to go. Don't put anything in it. If I'm doing anything like from that Nectar for the Gods line, anything like that, you do have to be very specific with pH. What I use for adjusting the pH is not organic. Do I give a fuck? No. I mean, what isn't organic when it comes to, like, I mean,
They do make organic based ones, but I promise you, they're just not that effective, and they're usually not very stable either, like long term. At least in my
What-
experience.
And then,
Maybe
yeah,
some
What
not
do you
change.
so
use?
like the citric acid method like doesn't work, dude.
No.
it
Doesn't work
stay.
at all. Doesn't work. Now,
So what do you use?
it's I think it's sulfuric acid.
Just straight sulfuric acid.
Well, it's not. It's from like pH Boys, I think is the name of the brand, and it's
Okay.
like it's a strong like acid. Maybe it's not sulfuric. I don't know. It's an acid. Let me tell you that much. Like you got it on my hand once. It hurt.
Mhm.
But the stuff is strong, so you only need like a drop or two. Whereas like I remember I was using the general hydroponic stuff for a little bit, like the red and the blue. I needed a shit ton of it.
How much is a shit ton? Because that's what I have that, and I have the TB Naturals as well. I've used
Like
both
a
of them.
pipette's worth.
Yeah, I
Like
use
a
like
squirt, a whole squirt. Like no, this stuff you
10
need like
drops.
a couple drops, and it's like it changes the pH so drastically. Now that is a function too of your water's ppm. Like
Yep. And you should always wait a couple of minutes before you check the pH because it's going to take a little bit of time to buffer. Even if it changes instantly, it's going to
Yeah.
change more within 5 minutes or so.
for sure. Now, like
Don't use vinegar. I just saw somebody.
don't
Yeah.
use vinegar.
No. Sorry.
Yeah, don't use vinegar. I mean, like the citric acid again. Like unless you're working with water that has like 0 parts ppm or less than like 50, citric acid is not going to affect it much at all. Like you're going to need a lot of it for it to really move the needle. You know what I mean?
For pH up, I use the Balance from Athena. It's a silica-based pH up, which is something you'd be adding to the
Yeah,
plants
we'd be
anyway.
adding anyway.
The only downfall to silica-based pH ups is you should really be adding them first before you mix your newts. So you have to have an idea how much to use. So the first time you don't add it first. It's impossible. You add it last. You just have to mix it really slowly because if you mix it too quickly last, you can drop your newts out of solution and fuck everything up. But for pH down, I use the GH orange shit.
Do you?
It's,
Yeah, you still
it's
use that?
it's cheap and it just works. You may have got a bad bottle because it's pretty potent stuff. I
Yeah,
actually
maybe-
water it down, so I have like a 20-ounce like soda bottle, and I half and half it, like half of that stuff, half water, because I find it's too strong.
You know, maybe mine lost its strength over time. Just
It's possible.
couldn't work, man.
I find their pH up useless. The GH blue stuff, I find it almost borderline useless.
So you got to use the.
I never have to use pH.
Yeah, that
ever,
I've
ever.
never had to use the blue. That's exactly right. Like never.
Never.
Because maybe it's just because we live in similar. You know, we live close by, so our water's very similar. But if you have if you're struggling with pH down, guys, check out the pH Boys pH down. Like the stuff is super potent. You need like 2 drops, and even if you have like nasty like Arizona well water and it's like 500 ppm and 150 of that is like sodium and shit, it's just it'll still move the needle pretty effectively.
I'd be interested to try the Microbe Life pH up and down.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, true. I forgot they had one. I should have mentioned them first. Y'all go use that code. That
I know,
that
we got a
sweet,
code
sweet
that's so
coupon
exciting.
code.
Yay, money out for you guys.
It is. And I think it's again, I could be wrong, but I don't think I've seen a single other Microbe Life Hydro coupon code.
I don't believe so.
Because they don't have an affiliate program. It's not like that. We don't give a fuck. We just want to save you guys money. So the code is CCMLH15. Save 15%. So
Got Photo Plus, the Terps Plus.
yes. And speaking of which, what a great segue. And look at that. We're like an hour and 10 minutes in anyway. So fucking time flies.
Sure does.
We have some awesome giveaways coming. Really, really good. Do you have them? You have them handy, G3? You know what they are?
Yeah, I do have.
Yeah.
Well, kind of. Give me a second. All right.
Definitely getting Terps
Almost.
Plus. You're definitely getting. I think it's like the whole kit.
We
There's
have
at
a
least one
bunch.
grand prize winner, and then a bunch of other like small winners. And now I'm thinking, honestly, I know we said we would do like just a Instagram giveaway, but why don't we do it through Discord?
I was gonna do it kind of through both. So
could
we were gonna
give
start
away
it
a
on
couple-
Instagram.
we'll just-
and
why-
we
we'll
could do
give away a
both.
couple of,
There's
like-
a whole bunch.
Why, just
So we
save a
have
few of those Terps Plus jars, and we'll give away a few of those just on Discord.
Okay, so the grand like spiel of everything that we will somehow get in the hands of you guys in the very near future, or some of you guys in the future. A grand prize of Photo Plus, Nourish, Root Dip, Veg Fruit Yield Enhancer, and Terps Plus in gallon sizes.
Whoa.
3 sets of the same product above in 32 ounces.
Whoa,
And
whoa,
10
whoa.
winners of a sample kit of 4 ounces of Terps Plus. Holy shit.
That's a lot. So
Damn,
we got,
son.
do you know how big a gallon jug is? Like, because, I mean,
It's about a gallon.
it's a milk.
I can show you. I have a gallon of Photo Plus
Not,
over here.
not, it's not orange juice.
That's
It's
big.
milk.
It's 128 ounces.
It's a heavy jug. The box that shit comes in is going to be heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So huge thanks to Microbe
Yeah.
Life Hydro. Like we
sure.
love their products so much. We all use them and adore them and wouldn't grow without them. So
And
hopefully
yeah,
you guys like them too.
please go listen to the episode we did with Brett, and really some great info. We will have him back on. Well, the scientist. I was talking to him about that. I know people were interested in that, like
Yeah, he's
super
a
Scott.
good guy.
dorky stuff, science that we can't tell you. So, yo, what's up, Mac?
Let's talk more about glutamate pathways.
We can't, but the scientist that he brings on certainly can, and that's what I'm looking forward to. It's like
Absolutely.
all I can do is kind of like stare at him with like wide mouth, like that sounds cool. So yeah, we'll get that all set up, guys. Keep an eye out for the post, and Monsta had a Patreon bean drop, all that good stuff going on. So, guys, come support us on Patreon. Help us keep the show going. If you don't feel like doing that, come hang out with us on Discord. And just that's
Come
that's
hang out
always
with us
free.
on Discord anyway.
Yeah, you don't need Patreons or not. You're all welcome. It's a party. 24-hour AOL chat room is what I liken it to. So, but yeah, anything else we have like show keeping wise?
Just in case you missed it, we are moving this live show back to its original day of Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yes, we're going back to the Tuesday night shuffle.
If the Discord link isn't working, I'm not sure why.
No, it's not.
Mm,
Well, dude,
It should still work.
Boy, you got our Instagram? Any of us? Hit us up on Instagram. We'll send you we'll spoon feed you that Discord link. And that goes for anyone else out there. I'll like mama bird that shit for you. Chew it up first and spit it right back in your mouth. Just,
Ugh.
that's maybe not. But yeah, we will help you guys out. We're here to help. So yeah, thank you guys. You, Monsta, G3, happy
A
Valentine's
pleasure as always,
Day.
sir. Thank you. Oh yes, happy fake Hallmark holiday.
Did you at least get some chocolates?
when I click on that link, it works. So
Yeah,
I'm going to
okay.
claim operator error. on whoever said it didn't work.
Can't click a damn link right, son. What can you do?
Copy and paste the link and put it into a different browser. I don't know.
Well, I want to thank the both of you for taking time out of your Hallmark holiday, even if it is that, but it's still taking time out of your night to come
My
hang
wife
with me.
remembered that last Valentine's Day we took off. And she said to me, "Oh, I thought you weren't doing a show this week because last year you didn't."
Oh,
So
I took off last Valentine's.
no, well, we all did. Like
Oh.
we decided not to do a show on Valentine's Day. It must have been on a Tuesday last year.
Ah. Well,
Our love for the plan is too great. We couldn't stay away.
stole the words right out of my mouth.
I didn't even think about not doing a show.
End
Kinda
of
stupid.
the
I kind of hate
community.
Valentine's Day.
All the people that listen in live, man, you guys rock. Everyone. I see a lot of new faces, so some shout outs. Fighting Do Evil, Kevy Boy 420, Porkaholic. I've mentioned you before. You're funny as shit. The Real Mac Attack. Welcome back,
Mac,
brother.
we love you.
Yeah, man. For real. Green Velvet, Michael A. Yeah, guys, tell a friend, please. If you have a grower friend or even someone you want to get into growing, tell them about our show. That's, we like to grow the organic way. Word
We
of
want
mouth.
growers and showers.
No dick pics, though, guys. Just knock that shit off. Really, I know G3's had enough.
Everybody is very respectful,
And
and
if
I
you're
appreciate that very much.
Gonna send me one, like, you better be thinking about composition and lighting.
Filters
all
make a
that
difference,
shit.
people.
I mean,
Filters
I
make
want
a
some.
difference.
I want some fruit and like a gourd in the shot.
A gourd.
What the fuck?
There's like
Gourd.
it's like a still life with like one of those. What do they call it? What do they call them? A cornucopia with a bunch of like there's like a small pumpkin and an apple and then. Oh my God, that's a man's penis.
Deep inside
what is
the
that?
dark mind of Captain.
There's a penis next to the gourd. Why? Oh my God.
You're gonna get flooded with inappropriate pumpkin
Don't
pictures.
do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just don't. Send me your pictures of your wife's gourds if you want to go down that route.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that, guys.
No, don't do that.
Just what you can do, and I know you're all really good at this. Until the next time we talk, don't get caught.